We continue our trek around the globe as we've been trying to do more so on, specifically this year on the podcast, is really expand our focus and go into a lot of different rewilding places and spaces. And today we go to Scotland, but we'll touch in Slovakia and a couple of different places with our guest today. She is in Ecology and Conservation Biology major at the University of Stirling. She also just came back from the Slovak Wildlife Society in tracking predators over there in Slovakia. But she comes to us from Scotland, and this is McLean. Caitlin, it's so great to meet you and talk with you and get all the stuff with you. How you doing?
Oh, I'm great. And yeah, first of all, just thank you guys so much for having me. I'm such a big fan of the podcast, so it's a huge honor to be asked to be here.
We appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's so interesting because you're I think the third or fourth guest we've had on this year that's been we listen all the time, and it really touches us that you guys everybody's listening, and we're doing our job, and this is really tremendous that you're here with us. So we appreciate that. Tell everybody what your story is. How I would assume you're native Scottish. What was your early life growing up? When did critters or nature and all that stuff really become at the forefront of your brain to want to go and study it, and then obviously do all the things we're going to get into today?
Wow. So I moved around quite a lot as a kid, but I spent most of my childhood in quite a small village in the south side of Glasgow in Scotland. It's very rural, and I spent most of my time there just being outdoors in nature, collecting bones and making dens and tree swings and all these things. And I had quite a lot of challenges in my home life, so being out in nature is where I felt the most safe. And looking back, I really think those kind of early adventures really did just shape my love for nature. I was obsessed with the Jungle Book, and I really thought I was Mowgli. Looking back now, I realize how delusional I was about how safe I was being a small child in the forest. But yeah, at that time I felt very safe, and I was doing really reckless things, just drinking straight out of streams, not knowing where that water came from. But I was at one with the land, and I will be fine. But yeah, and I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Fern Gully.
Of course.
Do you know it?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you know, it's crazy because most people I speak to about Fern Gully have never heard of it. But then when you speak to anybody who is into any sort of conservation, they're yeah, favorite movie ever. I think it just shaped so many people. But yeah, it had a huge impact on me. And I was going about my local forest thinking I was a little fairy protecting the forest. Just obviously Steve Irwin was a huge inspiration for me as well. And we had a lot of British TV shows about nature in the 90s, the Really Wild Show. And I would also read loads of adventure books, Enid Blyton, The Famous Five, things like that. And of course, Call of the Wilds, Jack London, an absolute favorite for me. And yeah, I always saw myself working with animals in some capacity. At
Wow.
first, that was wanting to be a vet, and then I kind of realized that meant only seeing sick and dying animals, and that I don't think I have it in me to do that. And then the next goal was a marine biologist, until I realized that would be pretty difficult when you have an insane phobia of sharks. So that did not work out for me either. But yeah, just always been a crazy nature lover, really.
I love, man, all those inspirations are great. And yeah, Fern Gully does not get talked about enough.
True.
It's such a awesome movie. I love that. Was one of my favorites. Oh my goodness. So talk about this. So when you get to university, you have this massive influence, obviously, through your childhood, and the environment really shaping you and making you want to be this person.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get into university, what are you studying, first of all? Because I know ecology and conservation biology is such a large, broad spectrum, right? So what's the focus when you're in university and what you're trying to accomplish with your studies that you can bring out into the field?
Um, yeah, so I chose to do ecology and conservation biology instead of like the sort of traditional zoology type degree because this this degree had more modules that included more field work, like learning GIS and like policy management and things like that, which was the kind of thing that really interested me because still to like this day, I don't really know what kind of route I really want to go down with a career. Like I'm just trying to gain as much experience as possible, like whether that's like doing research or working in like human wildlife conflict management and stuff would be like, yeah, a dream also, which is really where I feel like things might start going like seeming the most realistic route for me. Um, but yeah, like the course itself is great, and I really didn't have a traditional route into university at all because, um, like I mentioned earlier on, like I had quite a lot of challenges in my home life, and that ultimately ended up with me being in care. And the we had like a school built into the care home, and it was not great at all. It was basically they were just happy if you showed up. So like the when my exams came around, and I by some sort of miracle managed to pass my exams there. I didn't get good grades, but I passed them, but they were like certainly not good enough to pursue a science degree like at all. And yeah, I tried to do like the next best thing for me, like after working like in like sort of waitressing jobs for a while, which was to try and do wildlife photography instead. So I went to college for a few years. I studied photography, but I had just had my daughter as well when I was only 18. So I was like struggling on my own to balance college and being a new mum and kind of coming to the realization that traveling to do wildlife photography when you have a small baby and also very expensive camera equipment and stuff, it just wasn't possible. So I ended up like pursuing my next love, which was of art. And I worked in a prop studio for almost a decade where we would make like replica props from movies and video games and things like that, and anything weird for sort of marketing and advertising and stuff. And it was crazy. Like they'd be like, do you want we want like a 10-foot shark made for our golf club, and when we would make stuff like
Wow.
that, which was quite cool. Like
That's
every
wild.
job was just so different. Um, but I always knew like I want this so bad. I want to work with wildlife. I want to work with wolves. And the more I was hearing the talk about potential reintroduction of wolves here, it just really kept like lighting that fire
Huh.
under me. And I was thinking I need to somehow find a way to do this. And once I do set my mind on something, I'm quite stubborn, and I knew it would be a difficult journey, but I contacted the Stirling University where I am now and kind of explained my situation. And they told me they had access to a science degree course. And basically, that's like a year-long course where you do sort of basic science subjects to get you up to gear. So you could go into a science degree if you passed the course. And I had to really fight to get into that because I didn't have good results and things. But the woman who was making the decision could, like she said, she could tell how passionate I was about this. And she was like, don't make me regret this. I'm going to give you a chance to do it. And she did. She let me in, and I'm forever grateful to her. Um, and I managed to actually get a really good grade in that course, which allowed me to now get into my bachelor's degree. And 5 years later, here I am, still doing it. But I've absolutely loved it, and yeah, I don't regret trying at all. So yeah, it was definitely worth it for me.
Wow.
Wow. Very cool story.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you mentioned the reintroduction or the potential for reintroduction as one of the things exciting you, the potential for that as a career
Mm.
direction. Can you just give us a rundown of this idea of reintroduction in Scotland and the whys and why nots, as far as you can tell?
Yeah. So it's kind of widely accepted that the last wolf in Scotland, at least, was killed about 300 years ago. Um, yeah, there was just a lot of conflict with sheep farmers and things like just, I mean, the kind of
Yeah.
same situation in a lot of places. Wolves are just, public enemy. Um, and there has been a lot of talk since around the 60s, like serious talks about bringing the wolf back. And in recent years, this has really been building some momentum. And like I said, it was a huge motivator for me because I was thinking, I'm going to be at the forefront of this. I'm going to be a big part of this reintroduction. But the more time that I actually spent at university and being in the sort of the same room as other people who had been doing this for years, I was realizing that I was it was maybe a bit ambitious to think that we might actually get the wolf back within my lifetime anyway. It's definitely going to happen. I mean, it is. It's going to happen at some point, but I think it's going to take a long, long time. We had a lot of like back and front about even reintroducing beavers. So it's been like, yeah, it seems quite unlikely that for a long time we will have the wolf. But there it seems slightly more positive that we might get the lynx at some point sooner, which is great too. I love it. I love the lynx as well. But yeah, we actually had like an illegal release of 4 different lynx a couple of weeks ago, and it's sort of hinted that it was potentially rewilders that did this because something similar happened with the beavers before they were legally introduced. But these lynx, they were completely tame, and they had no chance of surviving in the wild, and they were captured, and sadly one of them
Wow.
died. Um, yeah, it was a real shame, but I think like it ended up having quite a positive effect and one that I didn't actually expect. And that was that social media here was going crazy. Like at first the news was like, keep your children indoors. There's lynx on the loose, and it's like really insane
Links,
stuff,
yeah.
like as if these lynx were like hunting children
Yeah.
down and stuff like. And but the more sort of misinformation that went out, the more sort of scientists were stepping in and correcting that, and then like being on the news and being like, well, this there's nothing to fear, like you're not going to get attacked by a lynx, and it actually really helped teach the public a lot about lynx, and there seemed to be a really positive reaction. People ended up saying like more people who had never previously cared about lynx are now involved in wanting the lynx reintroduced. So yeah, I'm hoping that something more positive comes of that.
So, what
Yeah.
is, I guess, the relevant history around predators in Scotland? I guess simply the question is, what happened to all these native predators? And then why is it so difficult to think about reintroducing them? I assume the thought process has something to do with the shock on the prey species because they've been without them for so long, or
That's what we want. Like we there's like an excessive amount of
right.
deer here. Our landscapes are destroyed. The hills are supposed to be covered in beautiful forests and they're completely
Yeah.
barren. Just the deer here have no feed ecology at all. They've never had to fear anything. So like where there's predators, like the deer will graze, be looking over their shoulder and continuously move
Right.
on. But here they don't do
Exactly.
that. They graze, and until there's nothing remaining at all. But like there's some of the people who are kind of loudest and most vocal about no predators coming back are people who make money from like have a lot of financial interest in doing guided deer stalking and things like that. So they don't want competition with the wolves or any large predator really. Um, and yeah, like we have just been in the UK now for so long without a predator that it seems like people are just terrified. And, I don't need to tell you guys how much misinformation is out about wolves already. And a lot of that is it's almost like it's fact here. Like people aren't, even people who like wolves here are still scared of them. Even I'm a gamer myself and I've grown up having to slaughter packs of wolves that are attacking me. And if you don't know any different, you would think this is wolf behavior. This is what
Right.
wolves do. Like, what if you go out and like when I talk to people and they're like, but what would you do if you saw a wolf in the wild? And I'm like, take a photo. Like, I'd be
Right.
so happy if I saw a wolf in the wild.
Right.
So yeah, like people here are just so scared of everything. Even, we're having a lot of conflict with badgers. People are scared of them. There's a lot of I know that the American badger is different from the European badger, but the European badger is like a friendly little dude. There's not there's nothing to fear of a badger. You just leave them alone and they leave you alone. But still, there's rumors that if you stand near a badger set, they've got a bite so hard that you have to carry a stick to crack it so that they let you go. And I'm thinking, like, man, these are some wild stories.
Wow.
So aside from these, I mean, at this point, these illegally introduced lynx, what is the largest predator on the Scottish landscape?
There's none.
I mean, even mesopredators
There's-
like fox or something.
well, yeah, like that. We do have small,
Like
yeah,
fox,
we have,
okay.
the fox and the badger is,
And that's the biggest predator out there.
yeah, and they're absolutely hated. They're treated like vermin, both of them. The fox has no protection at all, and there's still legal fox hunting here, which with like hounds, and it's really barbaric. And it's there's a lot of protest against this at all times, but it's still like flying the flag of tradition and being like, this is what we do in Britain. It's truly awful. The badger as well, like in England, the badgers, I don't think the badger is protected there. They have there's been a lot of issues with bovine tuberculosis where the badger's taken the blame for years about this. Like they've been accused of spreading it. But we don't even have it in Scotland. And so there's been huge numbers of badgers culled to stop the spread of the bovine TB. Yet the more badgers that are killed, the numbers are still going up of infected cows. So it just doesn't add up. But in like the last year, quite a bit of research has started coming out about how the badgers are not to blame at all. It's like the slurry on the farms and false negative testing and things. So the badgers are actually getting it from the infected cows. And but yeah, it's crazy. They're completely demonized and they're just chill little dudes, really.
My goodness. Jeez. So I mean, so ecologically though, I mean, what you're studying and what you're looking at as a native, Scottish individual, you're talking about the effects on the landscape, the fact that there's no forests at all, no predators to speak of, obviously, except for fox and badgers. So what are the ways in which, obviously, social media is one way to get the information out, but how is there, how is there a way to promote that predators are better? Like, what are scientists doing in order to, yourself included, to parlay this information to the general public? Because we've had people reach out to us from across the pond in England who, listen to this podcast and love talking about wolves. So what's the main barrier to reintroduce anything like this, besides wolves, and lynx are sort of on the fence to be reintroduced?
Honestly, I think it is just like the misinformation. There's like a huge fear of wolves being super dangerous and like lynx too. But yeah, like people are scared to coexist in a land where there are wolves, especially when you go to like countries who already have wolves at the moment. There's just so many horror stories being spread, like and like people who we're so far removed now from having a predator that we're just scared. And so but there's so many people here that are constantly trying to promote like large carnivores, but we're I don't think we're taken completely seriously by like a lot of the public. Like it's just like, oh, I think people think that, I mean, I've been accused a lot of like romanticizing wolves about not being dangerous and things, which I know a wolf can be dangerous.
Yeah,
It's a wild animal. Like I'm not delusional. I'm not out trying to cuddle them in the wild and
Right.
stuff. Like, but like they're not these evil
Yeah.
creatures. And you know, like almost every big town in Scotland has like these old folk tales of the last wolf in Scotland, and they're like, we killed the last wolf, and it was the biggest, meanest, cruelest, baby-eating, grave-robbing, evil beast, and like they really, yeah, it's everywhere. And even where I am in Stirling just now, there's a like the actually there's wolves everywhere here, like in the town names, the coat of arms and everything has wolves on it, and that's because they said that there was like a Viking invasion and wolves were howling in the distance, which alerted like the defenders to the Vikings invading. And so the wolves were great and praised here until they were hunted to extinction. But yeah, at one point they were loved here. Yeah.
Wow. It's interesting when you talk about the lore of and the myths and the legends that happen, because in what, like you said, in one vein they're thought about in a terrible way, that we're going to exterminate them because
Mhm.
they're you know tackling livestock or sheep or whatever it is, and then the other breath they're helping them save them from Vikings. So it's
Yep.
totally different, total different dichotomy. Um, when you look about like reintroduction for any of these predators, what are the things that have to be looked at? So, I mean, obviously, wolves. We can hope wolves will happen,
Mhm.
and they probably will. But if we're looking in the near future here, and we talk about lynx, what are the things that have to be thought about? Land, space, like where are they looking to be reintroduced? Are they looking to go into places where there's high deer population to move them around? What are the factors that people are looking at, like yourself?
So there's been a lot of studies done, and I think the best and maybe only place that there could be a reintroduction is in the Scottish Highlands. We have the Cairngorms National Park, and I looked it up to see how that kind of how size-wise how that compared to Yellowstone, and apparently it's half the size of Yellowstone. So it's pretty big.
Yeah.
And nearly half of the park is considered like a wild land, and it has like different areas that have like habitat connectivity, so it would be like good for potential dispersal and help with like the genetic diversity of like the wolves. And yeah, there was a simulation done by researchers in the University of Oslo, and they did it was like they ran a simulation hypothetically reintroducing the wolf to the Cairngorms National Park, and they released 3 packs, with each pack consisting of a breeding pair per pack. And after like the initial expansion, the wolf numbers stabilized at around 25 wolves per 1,000 square kilometers, which is apparently comparable to like the unmanaged populations in Poland. So is definitely doable, and it's there's nothing really to stop. Like we have the land, like we have the space, we have more than enough prey. The only thing really standing in the way is like farmers, landowners, and the government not wanting to give it a go really. But yeah, so hopefully something can be done about that. That's like why I think working in like the conflict mitigation is so important, to try and understand the views of people who are really against wolves. And over the last few weeks, I've actually been trying to have a lot of conversations with people who really hate wolves, like don't ever want to see them. And because I feel like it's really important to, especially if I do end up in like conflict mitigation, to really understand the views of these people and like why it is they hate wolves so much. Because obviously, like they're a controversial topic, and there's reasons why people hate wolves, like whether it's based on fact or not. And if you are a farmer, like you are more likely to dislike wolves than your average person. So I'm trying to understand people, but um, it is kind of hard to keep emotion out of it when you're speaking to people who really just don't want to. I mean, I've definitely had some constructive conversations, don't get me wrong, but there has been quite a few where it's been with people who just want to kind of upset me. And I had like, yeah, it's really not been nice. Like even last week, I posted about being in Slovakia, and a random person. Like I never said anything about a reintroduction or anything. I just posted about my positive experience in Slovakia, and he started like direct messaging me pictures of like mutilated wolves that he had done himself, and he was saying like, "This is what I'll do to your wolves if you bring them here." And so and I was not obviously going to have a conversation with someone like this who's just looking to upset me, but yeah, I am that this is like a kind of big focus for me right now, is trying to have difficult conversations and really try and understand. Because for me, it's easy to say we should all love wolves and we should all coexist with wolves, but I'm not from a country that has conflict with large carnivores. So that's why it's been so important for me to really be out and have conversations with people who actually are living this and this is their life, and just educate myself as best I can.
Yeah. I mean, so other than deer overpopulation, which is, I guess, one of those more classic symptoms of a dearth of predators, what are some of the other observable conditions that tell you that Scotland could use more predator species?
So a lot of people would argue to get rid of the badgers, but like, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that idea, but yeah,
Right.
like I mean, you look at our land is, I think it's seventh from the bottom in the world chart of like biodiversity or something. Like we are, and I never knew this. Honestly grew up thinking that this country was wild and really beautiful. And the more I've learned, like the more it's upset me. Like I look out and I see just potential of what could be. And, obviously wolves, we know like scientifically proven like the positive effect they have on the ecosystem, but can they, you know, uh balance out the destruction that man does? Probably not. Like, and that's that's also something that needs to be considered when it comes to like reintroduction and things. And honestly, like I was really, really pro reintroduction until one of your podcast guests that you had on. I'm struggling to remember his name, but he was an Irish researcher working in Sweden, and he had that view of like, I think he was basically just saying like, would we, why would we put the wolves through this? Like I mean, their benefit can't outweigh like the persecution that they would face. And that was a take that I had never really heard before from someone who loved wolves, and it really. I've been sitting with that ever since that episode, and it has had quite an effect on me. And I've really had a lot of conversations with myself surrounding that, like being like, do we even deserve wolves in the UK? Like you see the way they in every other country they're in, they are hated and they're hunted. And you know, my once really strong opinions on reintroduction have kind of swayed a little bit, and I'm not 100% either way at the moment. But like, yeah, I'm more open to hearing another side than I used to be anyway.
I mean, what does it say about talk about the land destruction a little bit more, because that seemed to echo earlier. What should the Scottish Highlands look like? Because you were talking about there's forest that's not there anymore. So what's the ideal picture ecologically of what they should look like and what they should be, so that it's a healthy ecosystem?
So like we have lost like a lot of our native woodlands, like particularly like the Caledonian pine forests and things, and it is just through like overgrazing of the deer. And it's not even just the Highlands, like the whole of the UK, like we're covered in hills and they're just completely barren, and they're quite depressing to look at, really. And yeah, yeah, it's a bit of a graveyard, to be honest. And like, I wish I hadn't learned these things, because I used to look at it and think, oh, that's a hill's a hill. That's the way it's
Right.
supposed to look. But yeah, they're supposed to be completely covered in forests for the most part. And yeah, they do not look remotely like that now.
Wow. I mean, it is pretty wild. So if you were to put a snapshot in the future here, and we talk about, badger, in a better spot, badger, lynx, and fox are all in the landscape in
Mm.
Scotland because lynx seem like they're going to be the one that would feasibly be able to be reintroduced earlier. Do, ecologically, do you think those, learn from what you've learned at university and from what you're seeing on the landscape from your experience, does it look like this will have some positive effect on what's going on in those highlands, just to
Oh,
have at least like the links around?
absolutely, yeah. Like, just yeah, like what I was saying, it would instill the sort of feed ecology back into the deer, and yeah, it would stop the overgrazing, and it would give like the habitats time to restore. And it is definitely a possible. That is what would happen. Like, there's no doubt about it. It is just given. It would only just take time. That would be the only thing. But the problem is just getting them here in the first place, really. It seems like a never-ending battle at the moment. But for me, I think as soon as I've graduated, I will be moving somewhere that does have large carnivores, and just gaining as much experience as I can, and maybe further down the line in my career when Scotland is more ready to speak about this seriously. Like, I would love to be a part of any project of trying to, yeah, I would dedicate anything to have them back in the UK.
What ungulates are
Uh,
on the landscape in Scotland? I mean, I know Scottish red deer. Is it just red deer and moose, or
No, we have red deer, roe deer. Oh God, what we have this some
fallow
fallow
deer? Yep.
deer. We have a small amount of sika deer as well, I think. Yeah. Yeah, we 6 species. So we
oh
have
wow, so there's 6 species of deer in there.
the
Wow.
red deer, roe deer, fallow deer, sika deer, muntjac, and the Chinese water deer.
So you guys have a lot of ungulates,
I
actually.
I haven't either.
So are all those populations kind of you're seeing upward trends in all of them, or
Yeah, the
yeah?
red and roe are lit everywhere. Like, I don't know if you've seen on my Instagram, like I've been trying to monitor my local badger population, and almost like every time I go there to the trail cam, I would say 9 out of 10 videos is roe deer. They're absolutely, and when I go there, I see them everywhere as well. They're absolutely everywhere here. Um, yeah, there's an insane amount of red and roe deer here.
So many that human hunters aren't impacting the population really.
No, and also because there's a huge thing with tourism, with people coming here like to the Highlands to hunt, so the populations are kept really high for that reason. So that there's a chance that they will be able to. I don't know. There's some draw about going to the Scottish Highlands and shooting a big deer. So like, yeah, there's so many of them just for that reason alone.
We've been looking at your Instagram too when you were in Slovakia, and clearly this seems to have really sort of captured your imagination, probably along with other things, just because of how stunning not only the scenery is, but what you're able to do. So talk about the Slovak Wildlife Society, how you got this opportunity, and what that project aims to do. Because I know you were tracking wolves and other predators. So what's the aim of that project, and then what was your role there for the month you were in Slovakia?
So the Slovak Wildlife Society are like a great organization in Slovakia, and yeah, my time there was absolutely amazing. Like, they actually run this project every year, and any citizen scientist can get involved with it. So yeah, and also the guy who runs it, Robin Rigg, would make a great podcast guest for you guys. And yeah, the trackers there as well, honestly. Like, that's what I thought when I met them all. I was like, you guys should be on the Wolf Connection podcast. But yeah, so our days there were spent between like the Tatra National Park in the north and the Low Tatras National Park in the south. And we would get up at like 6 in the morning every day and breakfast 6:30, and we would all sit and like pick a transect for the day depending on like the difficulty of the climb and things. And then you would spend like the next about 9 hours tracking large carnivores through the mountains, through the snow, and because of like it's a really good time to do it because the snow upwards is too heavy, so all the predators and prey move down into the valley, and obviously the snow makes it easier to track them too. Um, so we would follow tracks until we would come across any sort of sample, like blood, urine, scat, hair, anything like that. And they're doing that so that they can help with getting an individual count for the population, because there's been like a lot of like controversy on the actual number of wolves, especially in Slovakia. Like conservationists are saying there's about 150, whereas hunters are saying there's about 2,000. And obviously that's a massive difference. And yeah. And it's honestly, it's not to say like hunters are like lying as well, because there is a huge chance that, a pack of wolves, how much they're moving. They're going through multiple hunting territories a day. So each hunter is potentially marking the same wolf pack, and it's getting marked multiple times, and it's making the count much higher. But the Slovak Wildlife Society, they have they're given the number more closer to between like 400 to 600 individuals, which is seeming more likely. Um, so yeah, Robin, who is the main guy over there, he sits down every year with like local farmers and people from the government to discuss like a yearly plan and make numbers like for how many wolves can be culled in that year. So his work is really, really important because he's given a more accurate number, and like so more wolves are not being killed than necessary. And obviously, like, no, we don't want to see any wolves die, but like there has to be like some give and take from like both sides when it comes to this kind of thing. And he's also doing great work working with the communities there, like to help them better protect livestock, and doing a lot of education on large carnivores in general. So we would be marking the prey species. We would be looking for red squirrel, hare, wild boar, and roe and red deer there as well. And then also marking the amount of predators in the area and seeing if they were having an effect on the prey species also. And yeah, it was absolutely incredible. And I never thought I would want to move somewhere like Slovakia, but after being there, I've really fallen in love with the country. I always saw myself ending up in like Italy or France or something, doing working with carnivores over there. But I've really, really fallen in love with Slovakia, and I'm actually heading back over towards the end of summer to potentially work on my dissertation project for university and on either bears or wolves. I haven't fully decided yet, but yeah, I absolutely recommend it to anybody who over here that would love to get involved with that, because it was absolutely brilliant. And honestly, one of my favorite parts about it as well is that just being around a huge team of people who are equally as passionate about wolves, because I I think I have bored every single one of my friends to death. And I'm sitting and I can feel I'm talking and I'm talking about wolves, and I can see them being like falling asleep. Like, so it was really nice to be around people who were actually interested and wanting to have like discussions and everything like that. So that I absolutely loved that. And just being with these experienced trackers as well really, really inspired me. That's Tracking is something that I've really got into over the last few months, and I'm taking my cyber tracker evaluation in the summer. And so just being around these guys that are just so experienced, and also from countries that have large carnivores and really just knowledgeable. I loved it. I loved it so much, and yeah, I could have stayed forever.
Yeah, I guess you have to. I guess you have to move, huh? Somewhere to get
Yeah,
large carnivore experience. There's nothing.
definitely. Well, I we have like here the Large Carnivore Initiate for Europe, and on their website they have a list of basically everyone in Europe who works with large carnivores, and I think there's maybe around 150 people on that list, and I have emailed every single one of them. Like I am like really relentless about trying to get all types of experience with large carnivores. I know like my university keeps saying it's too much of a niche. Like you need to, branch out a little bit. But no, I don't want to. This is what I want to do. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this summer. I'm really trying to find, well, for my holidays from university, I'm trying to find as much experience as I can. I'm trying to find something in hopefully Italy this summer, but if not, I'll be back in Slovakia, I'm sure.
Yeah, Italy's not a bad choice. It's
Yeah.
not a bad choice.
No, definitely not.
Well, speaking of the lack of large carnivores in Scotland, which is forcing you to move to Italy. Poor you, right? Yeah, the lack of carnivores. But so this lynx thing, I'm curious about the illegal introduction of lynx. I can't even picture what that means. How does someone who wants to illegally introduce a lynx get a lynx, first off? But so what kind of impacts is that going to have? And then I guess what's the future of lynx in Scotland as far as you know?
Oh, this has been like a real big mystery. Everyone's very interested in getting to the bottom of this. We really don't know where the links came from. There's some people are blaming rewilders and saying this is people trying to force the
Right.
hand of the government and create a
Got it.
reintroduction. But I feel like in my heart, I don't feel that is the case because they were completely tame. Like they felt like pets. They
Really?
like when people track them, they put out like bait, and there's videos of it on the internet, and like they had the cat boxes and the lynx just walked right in, like they were looking for human interaction. There's two juveniles and I think two adults, and I think it was one of the adults that passed away. But um yeah, so there's also like rumors that this was maybe someone's pets, who maybe someone illegally had them, because you can have, I think there's certain people here who have licenses to have lynx, but like but they still don't know who these ones this specifically belong to. But yeah, maybe they were pets, and maybe they were, because they were released right next to the Highland Wildlife Park, so it seems almost as if they were hoping that they would be picked up and cared for by the wildlife park, because they were all starving as well. um but so this has really caused a huge buzz, like in the media, and like lots of conversations. And like I said, like people were, it was having like quite a positive reaction in the public, and people who never cared about links before were suddenly really invested in links. And but sadly, like 2 days ago, the leader, like the First Minister of the Scottish government, said that while he was like in charge, there would be absolutely no talk of a lynx or any predator reintroduction. But this was only like 2 days ago, and it's had really quite a massive backlash. So I'm hoping that that amounts to something, because people really want, like I can understand people being more wary of the wolves, like because of, they hear all these horror stories about wolves all the time. But like I'm like, the lynx is just, it's so unbelievable to me that that is even up for debate. Like knowing how desperately we need a predator here, and like how the land is suffering. And yeah, it just seems insane that this is even a discussion that we're having and not happening. So yeah, we'll see. We'll just need to wait and see what comes of all of this. I'm hoping the illegal links mystery gets solved, because it's driving me insane.
Yeah.
I want to know. I was just like, I've had people messaging me asking if it was me. And I'm like, no.
We're about to find out after we
We found
cut
it,
the
yeah, I know.
recording, probably.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, would lynx have an impact on deer populations? The smaller ones,
Yeah.
maybe the smaller
Yeah.
smaller species.
Yeah, it would be something. Yeah. Not the same impact that the wolves would have, but yeah, it would still be something.
It would almost seem like it would be that would be sort of the soft release of a predator, not meaning that it's not an apex. I mean, lynx, I guess, are considered, well, they're not. I don't know if other predators eat lynx. They probably do, but they're up far enough on the chain that they would at least start moving these herds around and killing some, and trying to get some of their
Or
fear
fawns,
base
yeah.
back for predators. Yeah, fawns and stuff. So it would certainly impact that, and at least start moving things around. And obviously introducing one predator on there would help. Obviously a couple more, or at least in that family, even if. And so on the wolf reintroduction thing. So what type? Because I know you've had photos of like Iberian wolves and things like that. What is the subspecies or the species of wolf that would theoretically be reintroduced? Would it be the gray wolf? Would it be Iberian? Would it be Eurasian? Like I know there's a couple different types. So what was the native species, or if you can know, 300 or so years ago, and what would be the one that would be reintroduced now if that was the case?
Yeah, I think like the closest to it would be just the Eurasian grey wolf. Yeah. Um, when I worked in a wolf park before, we did have different wolves there. We had the Iberian and things, but yeah, I think the just now the Iberian wolf is only in Spain and Portugal. But yeah, we would have the Eurasian wolf here.
Okay. And the Eurasian wolf, they're a little bit smaller, I think, right, than your typical gray or timber that we see in the United
Mm,
States, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. That is something that's actually surprised me a lot. Like, with being in Slovakia, is that I all the research, the majority of the research that I have read, watched, and listened to about wolves has been based on wolves in like America and Canada, and I didn't realize that there was some things that were quite different about European wolves. Um, Something that I'm only just finding out is that it's rumored that like European wolves don't howl as much as your wolves. Um, and the wolves in Slovakia, like Robin, who yeah, is the organizer, he's been there, I think it's 35 years and has heard them once. And like
Wow.
people like that live there just don't hear them. And I find that like absolutely insane. And it's something that I'll be really interested in studying, like whether the will, because some of the people that are part of that project have got a theory that it's due to they've learned to like adapted to stop howling because of the hunting pressure. But I feel like there's hunting pressure everywhere there's wolves. So why would more wolves not be adapting to that? And honestly, I think like it would be a really great project because part of me thinks that the forests there are so dense and maybe they are howling and humans aren't picking up on that, but like other wolves are picking up on this. So, but I would still love to really study it. I would love to, take some recording devices out and just see because I'm interested in that, like how the wolves are communicating and things. Like, I think that would just be a really fun
That's
project.
so wild.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And even one of the trackers there, he's from the Netherlands, and he obviously, I don't know if you know, actually, in the Netherlands, there's huge conflict with wolves at the moment. And he was telling me that he's only heard wolves there a handful of times too, but apparently they do howl there more than like typically in like the likes of Slovakia. Also, like even sightings of them. I think because the landscapes as well are it's such steep forests. It's like I think even if there was a wolf a couple of meters from you, you'd struggle to even see it. But yeah, there's really low sightings and stuff there. Like yeah, I think if you didn't know they were there, you probably wouldn't you wouldn't know they were there.
Wow. I mean, you get Slovakia seems like such an interesting place with so many different dynamics going on. What are the other predators on that landscape? I mean, do they have? I would assume they have bears. Do they have the full? I'm trying to think what else would be there. What are the other predators that you were tracking? Because you said large carnivores. What were the other ones?
So they have lynx as well and bear. And the we weren't expecting to find a lot of bear at this time of year, but I think they were saying this is like the warmest January they've had since starting this project. So it seems like global warming's having quite an effect because there was like a lot of bear activity, finding a lot of fresh tracks of bear. Sadly, I didn't come across that. My team always was the unlucky one that didn't come across the bear tracks. That was a bucket list thing for me that I never got to see. And like yeah, lots of like evidence of like bear scratch marks and everything. It was really cool. Hopefully when I go back summer, I will find this.
So you still haven't seen
Um,
a bear track? That would have been your first bear track, huh?
Yeah, I would have, yeah. And like that's the thing as well, like just walking in like the footsteps of wolves and just that was I didn't expect that to be so emotional for me. Like just loving wolves for so long and wishing like my biggest dream is to be in my own country and hear the wolves howl. Like that's like, like being a little old lady sitting on my, like, my porch listening to the wolves howling, that would be the ultimate dream.
It'll
But
happen.
one of my other bucket list things that I came across on my last day was a fresh kill site and
Yeah.
from like a wolf kill, and I found that very emotional as well. Like just it was a bit of a weird one though. We were trying to figure out kind of what happened, like the story behind it, because the deer had like sawn off antlers, and so it seemed like it was like an escaped farmed deer or something. It didn't seem like a wild deer, and also the wolves they didn't finish and their tracks didn't give any indication they'd left in a hurry, but like the it was barely eaten at all. And yeah, yeah, it was really emotional for me just seeing all the blood and the paw prints and everything. I thought that was really, really special. But and this was like, yeah, after spending this time like tracking the wolves, one of the guys went the next day to set up a photography hide, and he was going to wait and try and take pictures from like a great distance to try and see the wolves, but the kill was gone, and he followed the blood, and actually hunters there had moved it in front of their hut. So I've really struggled with this since I got home, actually knowing that like these wolves that I've felt in some way quite a connection to are most likely dead now. And it's like there's nothing you can do about it, like trying to keep harmony between the hunters and things there. It's a really tricky thing to balance.
It is,
And
yeah.
especially me, I'm not from there. I don't want to go stirring up trouble, but it's really had quite an impact on me. And yeah, to the point where I was like questioning, do I have the guts to do this as a career? I'm going to be faced with a lot of people that hate wolves, a lot of issues with wolves for the rest of my life, and sometimes I don't think I'm strong enough to do it, but at the same time, I don't feel like I have a choice, if that makes sense. Like I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. I can't imagine doing anything else. Like I don't feel passionate about anything else. This is really just in my heart trying to create like some sort of coexistence between wildlife and humans is so important to me. And yeah, I just cannot imagine not following that path. I think some days I'll be up for the fight more than others, but yeah, I can't I literally can't see myself doing anything else.
Right. Yeah, my mother always used to say, if you have that hard of a time imagining something not happening, you can't imagine another reality, then probably you've got to
I
go
mean,
down that path and see what's at the end.
that's to
It
piggyback off
becomes
what you
less
said,
and less
Stephen,
of
is
a
that
choice.
I was talking to one of our friends, and she said, I don't dream anymore because I'm living the dream, like literally living the dream. So that, I mean, to piggyback off what Steven said, it seems like you have anything. It seems from the moment we started this conversation to where we are now that the forest and the trees and everything else have basically told you like, hey, this is where you have to go, and you
Yeah.
really don't have a choice, you know?
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, what is so future, what does it hold for you? Because you're going to be finishing university. You're talking about doing a paper and conflict mitigation. I mean, where do you see yourself? It's such a lame question, but you
No.
just have so many threads out there. Like, what's the next step in this journey for you?
For me, like I am really open to moving anywhere in Europe that has large carnivores. I don't have, I mean, I would, if I was to have a preference, maybe the warmer side of Europe, like Spain, Italy, France, maybe. But yeah, I just literally anywhere in Europe. I'm really open to seeing where this career takes me. And yeah, like I'm just trying to get as much experience in different types of jobs and different types of roles that would be working in some capacity of wolf research. And I'm just, yeah, I'm kind of leaving it a bit open to whatever opportunities come. I mean, I'm definitely hunting down the opportunities, but like whatever works, like whatever comes to me, I'm just going to follow that and see where it takes me. But I will definitely be moving to a country that has large carnivores. I'm actually hoping next year to visit Yellowstone for the first time, which should be a complete dream for me. And I know you guys know Yellowstone Leo as well. I've been speaking to him, and he's said he would. I'd be able to he'd show me some Yellowstone hotspots. So he seems like a big sweetheart. So
He
I'm
is,
very
yeah.
very excited about that. Yeah, would be a dream.
Yeah, Leo's an absolutely wonderful human being. I mean, he'll give you the grand tour. He'll give you the back, the behind the scenes, the whole deal. He's got everything, on lockdown. So for anybody who wants to follow along on this adventure, what's the best way for people to either keep in touch? Is there, other like, in other words, too, if they want to learn about the Slovak Wildlife Society that you were talking about, or any of the stuff that may happen with lynx or the ungulate population in Scotland, where are places that they can go to check these things out?
So I have just recently created my own personal Instagram that's dedicated to my studies and my studies going forward. And that tag is at sour.wolf. It's sour is spelled SAOR. It is the Scots Gaelic word for free. It used to be Saoirse, which was freedom, but people kept thinking that was my name, so I shortened it a little bit. And yeah, the Slovak Wildlife Society, I think their website is slovakwildlifesociety.org. And yeah, I'll be posting a lot of stuff on my Instagram about their upcoming events and stuff as well. I will be back. I will be back with them too. And who else? Somebody else, one of the trackers at the Wolf Watch that I just did there, Mishon, he's at Tall Man Hiking on Instagram. He is absolutely incredible, like wealth of knowledge about wolves and the wolves in the Netherlands. And he was it was an honor to spend time with him. I really learned a lot with him, and just being around people who are super connected to the land is always really inspiring. But I would definitely say check out his page if you want to learn about the wolf conflict in the Netherlands. And I think that maybe I might double check the name of the website of the Slovak Wildlife Society just in case I've got that wrong.
Yeah. And actually, just a tidbit for you, he actually reached out, Tall Man Hiking, I think actually reached out to us via our podcast email. So I have to get back to him and
wow, yeah.
Get that on our radar of stuff to do. But we'll obviously put the Instagram handles and the website and stuff inside the description. So whatever that Slovak Wildlife Society is, we'll have that in there. Last question, Caitlin. When you hear the word wolf, what's the thing that comes to your mind?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say resilience for me. I feel like despite the years of like persecution, like wolves always seem to find a way to be able to adapt and survive and overcome challenges. And I think that's beautiful.
Well, thank you for sharing your story, for sharing your adventures, your research, everything that's going on. We're going to be following along, and definitely hit us up again when you're, the next thing that happens or the paper that comes out, because I have a feeling we're going to have a lot more conversations with you in the future. Yeah. So thank you for spending time with us. This is really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Hang tight while we sign off. How's to you all out there? Be with you next time. Bye, everybody. Looking for more information about Wolf Connection or the podcast? Please visit our website at wolfconnection.org, where you can donate, sponsor a wolf, or become a volunteer.